Taufiq hates Ant-Man and Quantumania. Oh, so what would you say is the closest,
the most accurate
fiction to science work of entertainment?
Hands down, Interstellar.
Oh my god! Oh yes!
Terus ada yang bilang, no, deadass, somebody said, yang bikin rel kereta api, tukang-tukang itu adalah jokinya Jokowi.
Hah?
Sumpah. Terus dia beneran nanya, they really asked me like, what's the difference?
There should be something called quantum dumbness. This is quantum dumbness. The rules of dumbness doesn't apply to them. There's another rules of dumbity.
Hello, Weeboos. Welcome back to the WIUI podcast. And this episode is pretty special, especially for me, because of our guest, which is, he is one of the longest member started volunteer in WIUI. So he has been building WIUI from the beginning, I would say. And we never really, it's very rare for me to chat or meet him because he's always abroad. But this time he's in Indo, so I figured we'll invite him to chat. And especially he's also taking a PhD currently in quantum physics. So I know that's Andovi's favorite topic.
My favorite topic, guys.
Like
favorite.
His most favorite topic.
Wow.
And so, give it up for Taufiq.
Yay.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Taufiq, do you remember what year you
joined WIUI?
Joined WIUI, yeah.
2021.
Wow, so you remember?
Early days.
So fun fact. Taufiq is one of the first batch of volunteer that was first recruited for WIUI. And I remember in the form for the recruitment, I asked, what did I ask? Do you remember?
The best Ninja Turtle or what? Which one? Which question?
No, not the best.
Ninja Turtle. What?
I asked, what is the best Ninja Turtle?
Which questions?
The one when the Attack on Titan one.
Yeah, that's...
No. Oh, no, it was like, is there anything you want to tell me or something? Was that in that section? I forgot. But he wrote, one of my favorite shows is Attack on Titan. And I think the best character in Attack on Titan was Erwin Smith.
Yep.
And I said, this guy has taste. I need to interview him. And
so please explain yourself. Why is he... Forget quantum physics.
Because I think that is objectively correct.
Okay,
well, I think this is a bias because I don't remember saying that.
No, it's true. No, you did. I will pull it up. I still have it. I remember.
Abigail lying?
No.
I remember.
So I know what happened. What happened was, I probably say that my favorite anime was Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
But I remember one of the thing that kind of made you chose me was because there was a question about what's your favorite Ninja Turtle.
Oh, okay.
There was a question from Faye.
Right.
And then I just said, because I had no idea about Ninja Turtle, and
so
I just said Erwin Smith.
Oh,
so that's
right. That's right.
See?
Okay. No. To be fair, no. Just for a fact, I did not choose Taufiq because of that.
Oh.
Okay.
I think she did.
No, I did not. But it's a point plus. Definitely. Yeah, so,
Did you also ask Taufiq who you voted for?
No, because back then...
Oh, yeah.
2021.
But that should be the next requirement for WIUI volunteers. I'm just joking.
That is
joking.
True. You know what? You know what?
No, we don't discriminate based on people voting, right?
No,
Abigail, right? We don't vote.
Okay.
Just like how the Run Club in Bali did not discriminate for nationalities.
Absolutely. The same way.
The same way.
Andovi, you watch Attack on Titan, right?
I did.
Who's your favorite character? Who do you think is the best character?
Listen,
And there's only one correct answer.
No, it's not. Listen. Here's what I think about. Again, context. I watched it in the early days.
Right.
Went a long hiatus. Watched season 3. Finished season 5 like 2 years. Long time, like 2 years ago. Like whatever it is. Like, don't judge me. I really like Eren, of course.
Eren.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, but I didn't like his ending.
Eren's ending or like just the entire ending?
I mean, because I felt like it had the same because I know you don't watch the Game of Thrones ending.
I don't. Do you watch
Game of Thrones?
No.
For me, all the complexity that was built when Daenerys. Okay.
It's fine. I don't care.
When Dany switched from becoming the mother of dragons to becoming so cruel, I felt that switch was the same with Eren. wasn't properly built up yet. We all knew Daenerys was gonna be cruel.
Okay.
But it was, kok cepet banget ya? Kasih kita nafas dong. And because I watched the Game of Thrones ending first, that left a very bad taste in my mouth for Aaron's 100 the turn. I know that was the twist, but
the Aaron turning bad.
yes, but like how Daenerys, we knew she was gonna turn bad, but give us time to breathe, right? And the mass slaughtering meant nothing then.
Well,
It didn't mean I guess anything then.
Why didn't it mean anything?
Because it just didn't.
Why?
Right? Because there's no consequences to what happened if it just
There is.
no, because they went to that what was the island Paradis, right? Right. And please you gotta
Paradis,
and I just felt
like the rumbling happened.
The rumbling,
okay.
Yeah. And
There's a lot of people died
and
80% of the world.
for no consequences.
Oh, as a deterrent, because the world wanted to eliminate
all those
Eldians.
people. Yes,
Yeah,
no, I get it, but I don't know. It's hot take from my side
Okay.
because the context with the Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Context.
Anyway, okay, interesting. But anyway, I think if you haven't watched Attack on Titan, you should.
You should.
Do not read spoilers.
Like who? Abigail?
Like who? Yeah, I know. You know, I unfollowed one of my friend. So she watched until season 2.
Yeah.
And then she told me she just read the Wikipedia for season 3 and 4.
Wow.
I unfollowed her.
Wow.
I think that's pretty psychopathic. I don't know.
Should that be your next criteria for anyone working with WIUI?
Yes.
It was the end of an era for me as well because I started Attack on Titan like first year of high school, and then the last episode was the end of my PhD. So it was like the entire span of education. So
you
it was like
also had a skip like me.
yeah,
Skip,
yeah.
season 2, season 3.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it's like
there
a
was a
very
skip.
long,
very long skip.
break. Yeah,
Okay, talking about your PhD.
right.
Okay, so walk us through. What is it, the topic? And you did mention to me like a couple of months ago how you solved like this big equation.
Oh no, wait, what?
No, you said that you were trying to solve this question, right? And then you figure out like an equation and you were very proud of it. Like, can you walk us through?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't put, because like science to me is a very collective effort, right? So I would say, I wouldn't, phrase it in that way,
Sure.
but so my PhD essentially is about studying the properties of matter at very low temperatures. So maybe if I ask you, for example, what's the coldest thing you can think of?
I mean, remembering my science IPA days in high school, this is remembering.
Yes.
Isn't the coldest thing like minus 273 something?
Very smart. Yeah,
See, I still remember.
Okay.
Still,
Yes.
Didn't Google it. I said it. It's minus 270 Kelvin or
No, minus 273.15 degrees Celsius.
degrees Celsius. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Nice.
I remember that's when all matter stops, right?
Yes. So that's temperature is called zero Kelvin or absolute zero.
Kelvin, that's absolute zero.
Yes. And like I would start with, for our audience probably like think of ice, right? Ice is 0 degrees Celsius, but then things like minus 200 degrees, even colder than that. Even space is about 3 Kelvin. But the matter that I study, realized in laboratories, is about nanokelvin. So it's like 0.00000 blah 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 9 zeros kelvins. So these are extremely cold. Yeah, and things gets very interesting when you cool things down to this extreme regime.
Okay.
Because they start playing by different rules. Like if you look at objects in surrounding us, they're made of atoms.
Right.
Like you can think of it in normal scenario, they're just like little balls and then just colliding and bouncing with each other. But when you go to really low temperatures, they start behaving like quantum mechanics. Like quantum mechanics start kicking in. And they no longer behave like this individual little balls. They in fact behave more collectively as a wave. Like think of let's say a water pattern, like ripple patterns on the surface of water, something like this. So yeah, essentially in my PhD, we are trying to look at how does matter behave at this extremely low temperature. Yeah.
Damn, so you would say you have a cool job.
Oh yeah, that's good fun.
I was waiting for that.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Okay, so I'm very curious, Taufiq. So you I would say that your major, like what the field you're working in, is in science, right? But at the same time, you're also very active in what is up Indonesia, WIUI, which is social science, still science, I would say. But why are you interested?
Yeah, why are you interested in WIUI?
In WIUI, exactly.
Yeah,
it's very different.
Very different, yeah.
We don't talk about quantum physics here.
Yeah.
Sometimes we do during like one of our meetings, but why? Can you walk us through the journey and how has it been for you? You saw like the evolution of WIUI, right? From 2021 to now.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder myself, but I think
She's like, why am I here? She's like,
No.
should not have been here.
But after some reflection, sometimes I also wonder because it's a little bit instinctive. Sometimes you just do things without thinking about why you are doing it in the first place. I think we in the same way, but after thinking about it, I think it comes back to how I was raised in my family.
Okay.
So my parents, my dad is he graduated from applied mathematics in ITB.
Okay.
But my mom, she graduated from politics and sociology in Unpad.
Oh, so that's like a marriage.
Yeah, kind of. So, and both of them are actually very active in some kind of social activities.
Right.
And growing up, I always hear phrases, which is like a very good teaching. They say that the best human beings are the ones that are most useful to others. So this is a teaching that kind of like very resonate with me. And I like physics. Physics is a very interesting subject. However, it's a long-term thing. Like for example, I was talking about like ultra cold systems, like really low temperatures. Like what's the application of this? Like why should people care? Like this is a very long-term research. So WIUI is a kind of another way for me to contribute in some ways, in my own capacity. So that's kind of the driving force, I would say.
How has it been?
Yeah, I would say the world has changed a lot. So one big thing that we navigating algorithm is a big change. I think like in 2021 and navigating algorithm in 2026 is very different.
Very different.
Yeah, so that's also a lot of like we had a lot of discussion about how we should move forward within this crazy environment. I would say. I mean, I don't know whether we want to go deeper into that topic, sir.
I mean, yeah, sure. I think one of the things that I talked about this with you as well, and I mean, this is one of the main reason for this podcast as well, is I think one of the big thing that I observe, and I don't know if both of you can agree, is the rise of cynicism in social media when it comes to like these topics. I think when we started in 2021, there was still a lot of optimism when we talk about like social issues, social political issues. The response people are still spirited, in engaging with the topic. But now there's so much like doomer mentality that people are just like, I don't know why we still care, like nothing's gonna change anyway, things like that. And so we did talk a lot about like, combating cynicism. And one of the things is that's why we created this podcast, because I think long form conversation with human beings, it's a way to like learn about these things without to understand the nuances and complexities, and that I think will, in a way, aid the optimism because you get to learn that. But I mean, in the post as well, we kind of discuss like the angle and how should we approach certain subject and things like that. Yeah. And I mean, Taufiq, you mentioned a little bit about how your family kind of like grounds you and it makes you still optimistic even though you see like the news. Like, can you explain more about that? Like, big picture and then like local picture.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there are two factors that, like hope is definitely one thing that I think like hope and optimism is something very important to nurture in the current era. And I think what helps me in this endeavor, I mean, I'm a human being. I also feel like, sometimes I'm not hopeful all the times, But one thing would be to zoom out. And this usually done by reading. That's why this long form content is still very important, right? I mean, like when you look at like history and all this, we have been through a lot. Like we as a collective human being have been through so much bad times. So sometimes it can feel heavy at present, but like you can find strength in these stories of hardship that people have gone through in the past. And of course, my family is also another thing. I think my family grounds me in focusing on what we can do, because like we discuss a lot about like, oh, there's a big corruptions or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's helpful, at least psychologically, to focus on what we can do like in our surrounding. How can we be a positive impact toward the people surrounding us? And my family has been a really good example of that.
Because they're very active in
Yes.
like initiating like social causes and things like that you mentioned, right? Yeah.
Is
it's true.
your mom and dad a professor or teaching anywhere, or are they
Right. My dad is lecturer in Bandung.
in Tebe?
No, in Unisba.
Unisba, okay. In applied mathematics or mathematics in general?
Some engineering, like
Engineer, okay. No, can I just know your history? So, where was your S1?
right. So I grew up in Bandung until up until high school, and then I moved to South Korea.
For your S1?
Yes.
What did you take there?
Physics.
Physics, okay.
Yes.
S2?
In Korea as well.
Okay.
And then for PhD, I moved to Singapore.
Singapore.
Yes.
So, I'm assuming you speak South Korean?
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. That's all I know. All right, okay. And now you're in Singapore.
Yes.
Okay. Which university again?
NTU.
Wow, that's very hard to get into. Listen, there is this thing that I want to talk to you about when it talks to PhDs and gelar. Even when I talk to you right there, I was trying to make a point there. Orang Indonesia selalu nyala kayak gitu kan. Lu S1 di mana?
Yeah.
S2 di mana? S3 di mana? And maybe it didn't feel that way to me because we're conversing. But I'm trying to highlight how maybe in Indonesia everything is seen as a status symbol, especially your gelar.
Gelar,
right?
yeah.
Do you feel that way? Do you feel that when people like, oh, go, I'm a PhD, like, look at my gelar, do you feel that way? Do you think that's the general thing in Indonesia?
Yeah, I mean, I find it a very peculiar thing. Like, for example, during masa pemilu, and you see spanduk and all the time. And it's like, somebody has like a 6 titles. I never found it, like, at least in Singapore or in Korea, like, this is not a thing,
They just put a name. They just literally put a name.
They put a name or just one.
Just
like,
one.
Maybe like the most relevant.
Yeah,
and I found it sometimes like, I was perplexed when someone says, "Oh, you put your academic degree on wedding invitation." I was like, "Oh, what? Why?" What's
That's true.
So
Why?
it's quite interesting. I mean, there's a lot of layers to this, right? I mean, education used to be very scarce, I think.
Right.
But I mean, it also has some bad side, right? Because I feel like PhDs is essentially a training. I think it's a training to be an independent researcher. On the other hand, it feels like in Indonesia it's treated as a status symbol, as you said. You know, so I find it very interesting how different people like see this degree. You know, that's.
Yeah, and can you tell us more about like you said that PhD is as a training to be an independent researcher. How do people, like, I guess in Korea or in Singapore or in your community, the international community, view PhD? Like, how do they usually talk about it? Because in Indonesia, we just talked about that, right? Like, that's how it was viewed.
Right. So, I mean, I would say the best PhD program, it's not always, right? But the best PhD program would train you to think for yourself, to sit long with questions, because the thing is that our society is very obsessed with answers, right? Like we have supercomputer in our pocket. You can just Google things, or even nowadays like, you can ask AI about it, right? But PhD trains you to sit with questions. So you are given a question that nobody knows the answer to, and you have to kind of like make progress towards solving it. And it's not easy because there's no instruction. There's no like A, B, C. This isn't what you need to do, right? Like you have to learn how to navigate uncertainty. And maybe like take in different people having different opinions and not having the final answers. And you have to sit with that for 4 years and kind of like make your own answer, your own version of the like the answer to that questions. And that teach you a lot of skills like persistence and I would say also kind of so one thing that I learned, like the hardest thing for me to learn during my PhD was judging when I should listen to a feedback and when I should ignore it.
Oh, okay. Elaborate. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Please.
Yeah, because at some point after you like wrestle with this problem for 3 years, you can say some stuff about this. Right. Like the target is even more than your professor after a certain point.
Right. Right.
So of course there will be like advice, feedbacks that you will receive, and as an Indonesian we sometimes have a tendency to just, someone more senior or more respectable tell us something, we should say, oh, yeah, you're right, or something like this, right? But sometimes that's not the right thing to do.
Yep.
Because people have their own lens, have their own interests, have their own agenda, and you might not necessarily share the same view. And but on the other hand, you also don't want to be this arrogant prick, like I don't want to hear anybody. I just want to do my own thing. So for me, the hardest lesson during PhD was that exactly, like given a harsh feedback from someone more senior than me. What should I do? Should I actually incorporate it, listen to it, take it to my heart, or should I actually ignore it? And this is both personal in terms of navigating life as a scientist and also scientific. Like sometimes people just criticize your work and you have to decide what you make of it.
No, that is so interesting because actually I think this is very relevant in a lot of discourses that are happening in Indonesia, even outside of academia. I think I see a lot of discourses, for example, in social media, right? Somebody makes something. And then people criticize it or dunk on it.
Yeah.
And then that person defend their work. And then people are like, oh, anti-kritik banget nih orang. Gitu kan. Oh, this person it doesn't take criticism well.
Right.
So I think for a lot of people, what you mentioned, filtering criticism, understanding how to navigate which one is relevant and not, is anti-critic. So can you elaborate more? What differentiate that and being anti-critic, and how do you differentiate which criticism is relevant or not for you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I said it was a difficult problem, because I think there's no single answer to this. But I would say that one thing that's always true would be to approach things with curiosity. Like you don't want to close yourself up. For example, someone's giving you feedback. You kind of can ask more questions about the criticism. Where does it come from? What's the let's say the base, the foundation of where this criticism is coming from. And sometimes you agree, sometimes you don't, and I think that's fine. I would say that's one. I think that's on top of mind. But generally, I also don't have like a clear-cut formula. Sometimes I just have to look at it case by case, whether I should listen to it or whether I should ignore it and move ahead.
I see. Taufiq, I do want to ask you something that's maybe a bit left field. Yeah, I want to talk to you as this is a very different angle, but like I want to talk about science communication.
Oh,
I really want to talk about this because for me there's two ways of science communicating: through entertainment. Like I got really into science because of the Big Bang Theory. People can laugh about it and say, "Oh, that's not real." Sheldon and the friends are just being funny. But it really got people, like normal people like me, like, "Oh, string theory. I know about string theory purely because of Sheldon, and he was obsessed with it." Mm-hmm. And there's people like Neil deGrasse Tyson who communicate scientifically, and then I just feel like in Indonesia, we have a dearth. We don't have top of mind science communicator. Zero. I mean, I don't have a top of mind.
Probably Bagus Mulyadi.
Yeah, the closest thing is Bagus, but then again, he did math, right? He did math.
Engineering.
Engineering. Right? Why is it that in Western cultures, I'm assuming in Eastern Asian cultures and South India, they also have the culture, but why do we have people like who know what they're talking about? Because when you talk about quantum mechanics, right? But to communicate it in such a way in which it's fun for the masses to enjoy science. Like, why do you think we don't have any of that?
Oh, well, we don't have any of that as a big claim, because I would recommend, for example, Kobisa has been
I
really...
was about to say.
Shout out Kobisa.
Yes. So one factor why this is not as prominent, I would say, would be that we have a lack of vocabulary. That's one.
Ooh, I love that. Okay.
So it's one would be that even when I was in high school, I had to buy a lot of like foreign textbooks because I was doing this physics Olympiad thing. I had to learn let's say university level in high school, and there was no like good Indonesian reference, only very limited ones. So lack of vocabulary is one thing. For example, in quantum mechanics, if people are following, like there's a term called entanglement.
Okay.
So this entanglement is a kind of like a special type of correlation between two things that doesn't exist in the normal everyday life sense. That's the basic idea of what entanglement is. But there's no translation in Indonesian.
Oh, there's no direct translation of entanglement in Indonesian.
Yes.
Okay.
This is this I bring up this example because I have Indonesian colleagues in Singapore, and we have a vigorous debate about what should Indonesian translation for entanglement be. You know, and the problem is that when you have a vacuum of formal translation, people start filling in the vacuum, and one of the vacuum was santet. You know, santet ilmiah. This went viral.
Wait, what?
So people talk about quantum entanglement in terms of this voodoo things,
magic
like
shit.
on YouTube. You know, it's not
yeah.
formal. This is on YouTube because people hear about entanglement from other sources and they try to translate it to Indonesia, but they try to find the closest ones.
Right.
And of course it's not correct, right? I mean, like, but you start to have even quantum mechanics already has really bad reputation in terms of like mysticism and things like this.
Yeah.
And you want to translate entanglement into something like santet, you get even worse effect, right? So I think that translation work needs to be more emphasized in Indonesia so that we have enough vocabulary to talk about
Which
science.
actually is the job of the social and linguistic people to work with the science people to make something. I don't know, like.
Yeah, I mean, I would say yes. That's definitely an interesting opportunity. However, I mean, one thing that's to be recognized that, as far as I know, I might be wrong, but there's not much incentive to do a lot of like translation work in Indonesia.
Right.
Because the thing is that when I was in Korea, many people also don't read English books, but translation comes very quickly. So even like a new book, you can find a Korean translation very, very quickly in the bookstores. You know, so this is something that maybe there's progress. I think recently there's more translations very quickly. But when I was growing up, for example, this was not the case. Yeah.
Right. That's very interesting. I never thought about it in that particular lens of the vocab itself is not there.
You know, that is very interesting. So first is the vocab. Is there any other reason you think why the science communication is not as prominent?
Yeah, I would say one would be that people think of science as a subject in school. You know, after school, you don't have to think about science anymore. So this is like a very common misconception. And also the fact that science is taught as a collection of facts and knowledge. You know, science is more than that. Science is a way of thinking. It's a kind of like a method. How do you go about investigating the world? And this can be applied to many things. You know, scientific method is not just for biology, physics, chemistry. You can approach
for experiments in the lab. Yeah.
So I would say changing the stigma around science is more than just a subject in school, but just a general way you approach about how you want to understand the world more through experimentation, through hypothesis. That's another way you can try to improve science communication.
I love that you said a lot of people know science as a collection of facts as opposed to like a method to find out something, right? Because a lot of people mention, and I've seen a lot of these arguments, people say, why should we learn science? Because why should we learn science? The facts changes all the time, right? Like you learn one thing this year and then the next year it got debunked. Apparently it's not that accurate. There's a newer one. And so it never, like, it changes all the time. So why should we learn science? Why is it reliable? While missing the whole point that it is precisely because they change that it is reliable, right?
Yeah.
Because of the method, because it has a self-correcting mechanism, because it is open to be challenged, right? And I think a lot of people still don't understand that. And can you maybe talk more about that? Yeah,
sure. So this is I had an interesting conversation with my dad that science used to be called ilmu pasti.
Ilmu pasti.
Yeah, and I hated it. Because
tanpa kita sadari ya juga ilmu pasti. Oh iya.
Iya benar.
Yeah.
Even the translation again, vocab.
The vocab. It shouldn't be called ilmu pasti.
Yes, because uncertainty is the very feature of science that make it unique. Like it's actually the strength. And one thing to think about this is in terms of expanding circle. So why should we trust science, for example? That's because at any moment in time, that's the most reliable description we have, but that doesn't mean that's the best or that's the truth. You know, there's always space to improve. And for example, in the case of physics, like in high school, we learn about Newton's laws. Right? And then you hear about, let's say, Einstein's relativity, and you say, "Oh, Einstein's relativity debunked Newton."
No,
but that
it didn't.
Exactly. Like if you want to try to build a bridge, it's useless to use Einstein's relativity. Like you have to use Newton's law. And even like if you try to shoot a rocket up, you still use Newton's law. So the way you think about it is that there's a circle, and this domain of
Right.
validity of Newton's law get expanded
By
Newton's law got
relativity.
broken by Einstein's special relativity.
Right.
So relativity at some regime has to reproduce what the Newton's law actually says.
Right,
You can't just like conflict in the same regime of validity. You have to have coherent description of physics.
Yeah, like because I remember people were like, "Oh, look, you're right. Einstein debunked Newton." I still remember I talk like, "Oh, so many Newton." But you're right. Science always. I really like that analogy of the ever expanding circle
Yes.
and the domain. And
Yes.
then I like that. Oh yeah, it's really nice.
Oh, this is I have something to say on this as well,
Okay.
because in high school I got bored by the way physics was taught. I mean, I'm doing physics. The reasons why I was bored was because physics and science in general was divided into chapters. And I hated that because I see things as connected, and it's a bit like, so if you are dealing with just this chapter, the problem is only about this chapter, but the world is not like that, right?
Yeah.
And another thing was wait.
Can you maybe give an example?
Right. I mean, like when you talk about, let's say, mechanics,
Okay.
let's say, right? And you push this glass and it moves over there, right? But now, actually, if you push this and then, let's say this is very heavy.
Yeah.
If you push this, the table gets more hot. It gets hotter.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
And so you actually have interaction between mechanics and the physics of heat. So the world is actually interconnected.
Yeah.
But you are treating it as a kind of like a separate chapters. Wait, I forgot. What were you saying before? Because it was...
No, as in like. No, I love the ever expanding circle.
Ever
The bit.
Right. No.
Yeah,
Domain
yeah.
of validity. So I forgot what I was going to say. The thing is that people think of physics as a collection of formulas, collection of things that don't break. It's kind of like laws, right? Laws is in fact, it's not a very good terminology. It's a remnant of our history.
Yeah.
Because there's no laws. There's always like patterned and
Or principles.
Our principles,
Yeah,
and this
principles,
principle has their domain of validity. Sometimes they can break. And this is something that I didn't find in high school physics, normal high school physics. I did physics Olympiad and I found it in physics Olympiad. Those problems really require you to think of when, for example, conservation of energy breaks, when conservation of momentum breaks. And all these like laws of physics that you learn in high school, they have their limit and they can break in given appropriate circumstances. Yeah.
So when you say that, when it is taught in chapters and it's as if it's divided, like it bores you because the world doesn't really work that way. It's interconnected. But don't you think that it is faced that way because it is, for example, it's for middle school or high school, or do you think is there a better way to teach science and physics and things like that?
Right. I mean, I always so this is something that I read somewhere that the first job of a teacher or communicator is to convince their audience to care. So
That's a bar. That's a line. That is.
I know, yeah,
That is a
so yeah, like the way physics, mathematics, chemistry, science in general is being taught is like, you have these chapters and then like just learn this.
Yeah.
But I think one better way, probably, I mean, I'm not a teacher. This probably has some challenges to be implemented, right? But like, just go outside, right? Go outside and look at the world and then start from there to connect to the material. Because, because I mean, you start seeing that this is not just some weird knowledge on a book, but it's actually about something real. And you also start appreciating the interconnection between different things, like biology and chemistry is connected, and physics is connected. So I think you get a more holistic view of science and nature in that way.
That's a bar. Because even, like this is sort of topic, but even in stand-up comedy, people think you have to be funny. No, you have to make people care about your story first.
Yes.
You can't laugh if people are like, all right, cool. Like there's a technique in making people laugh, but you gotta make people care first. And it's similar.
And it's the same with content creation, right?
You gotta make people care first.
It's the hook.
Yeah,
it's how
you
you
gotta make people care
present
first.
the story. It's the communication part. It's a whole art.
It's
a whole art in itself.
There's a similar quote that it's like the job of a teacher is not to provide answer, but to make students fall in love with the questions.
So many bars. Itu cut, TikTok, reel, clip, Instagram.
agree.
That is, damn.
Because the moment students fall in love with the questions,
They will always ask.
Yeah.
They will always ask.
And they will
me,
become
like,
curious, and
You know what? Can I go on a tangent? Just a small tangent.
Yeah.
I want to tell you about my physics story.
sure.
Okay.
This is my physics story.
Novice physics story.
I took IB HL physics. Because Joe took nuclear physics. So being the little brother, I always thought, okay, I can be better than my brother in physics, right? So I actually fell in love with physics. And I fell in love with physics because of so many shows, like a Big Bang Theory, all this stuff. But you're right, it was the fact that I watched Breaking Bad. And Breaking Bad, as you know, he's called Mr. Heisenberg.
Yeah.
Walter White is Heisenberg. That was my intro to quantum mechanics. Because Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, if you know someone's positions, you don't know its momentum, all that stuff. But it was the entertainment part that made me care. Like, why is he called Heisenberg? Why is his persona like that? So I got into it because of something completely unrelated to school. So I loved it and I started to get into it. Of course, my brain capacity couldn't handle it in reality, right? I didn't get more into physics, but I was like, damn, physics is fun when you start caring and knowing because of art, because of Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
Right? So then I like, okay, Heisenberg uncertainty principle is what? Okay, so you don't know what happens there. And then I watched a Black Mirror episode that talked about quantum mechanics, where there's in quantum computing, AI is very much related to quantum computing, and how if we solve the problem of quantum mechanics, AI will be so much more expedited in its process. Again, like because of a Black Mirror episode about
Which episode?
Strawberry, the Netflix, they were parodying Netflix where every story can be made accordingly,
personalized, right? Customized.
And it was done by a quantum computer in the beginning
right.
of that Netflix
Quantum computer,
Black Mirror.
yeah.
And that got me like, kenapa sih? Emang apa hubungannya quantum computer dan content in Netflix?
Yeah.
So it was it made me care. Like.
So one nuance I would provide to that is sometimes you can take it a little bit too far.
Right.
That you kind of like prioritize the let's say entertainment part
aspect.
of it, and you don't really care about the accuracy of things. That's why I actually find science communication to be a very challenging and a very interesting space, because you try to find a balance between the two.
Yeah,
it's true.
And I think it's like for example, like we just talked before the recording about this Quantum Mania, Ant-Man, like popular audience sometimes don't really know how to distinguish which one is like based on real physics and based on like purely fictions. By the way, there's no time machines in quantum, guys. There's nothing about time machines.
Taufiq hates Ant-Man and Quantum Mania. Oh, so what would you say is the closest,
The most accurate
Yeah.
fiction to science work of entertainment?
Hands down, Interstellar.
Oh my god! Oh yes! Okay, this is context.
Okay,
context.
I need context. Yeah.
So I own Matt for coffee. This is my coffee. Okay.
Okay.
Both my partners fell asleep during Interstellar. I literally was like, if I knew this fact about you before, we wouldn't have worked together.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
How
I
dare
understand.
you sleep in one of the best pieces of art? Oh my
Yes.
god! Oh my god! Interstellar is peak. It is peak. Oh my god! Thank you for validating.
No,
it.
yeah. Like
Thank
I
you.
admire Interstellar a lot also because they hire serious physicists. Kip Thorne was a Nobel Prize winner, and he was a consultant for this movie.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
You can do great fiction with respect to the actual thing, with respect to the science. And of course, you can put fiction on top of it, and nobody will protest on that. In the Interstellar case, almost everything they got right until the point that you enter the black hole, and that's the fiction part, and that's fine.
And the
that's a
fourth
science
dimension
fiction.
is love.
Yeah.
It's all this stuff. Yeah.
But that's fine.
That's fine.
But like the depiction of black holes and
that scene with the first time the black hole was, and it took them 1 year to render. Yeah. It took him a long time to render that black hole sequence.
And a few years ago, I think they actually got a real picture of a black hole. Of course, it's not as like movie, but this is a real black hole to capture, and it looks very similar.
Similar to
to the one Interstellar. And the Interstellar was only based on theory, so this gives you like a very powerful description of a theory. Yeah.
Okay. That is the most accurate. What is the most disrespectful, inaccurate fiction?
Quantum Mania.
I think so. Yeah, I think I would say that. Yeah.
Ant-Man Quantumania.
Especially has the word quantum in it, so the expectation.
Yeah,
is
expectation is
quantum.
high.
Oh no.
And I mean, the problem is also that it's like time machine. There's nothing. There's no association whatsoever about
quantum
time machine.
and time machine.
And
Yeah,
time
there's
machine.
nothing.
Yeah.
Marvel. What is up with Marvel? Like their decision has been very questionable.
Are we going there? Because we're going to go there. We're going to go there. Are we going there? It's going to take 30 minutes just to talk
That's
about.
right, okay,
But there's
okay.
this meme like I saw like the technology that like there's a leaking pipe or something. Like there's technology that you don't care about and just like plug it quantum.
The meme, yeah.
Quantum is just like a
Quantum.
buzzword for everything you don't understand. And I don't like that. Actually, quantum mechanics is 100 years by now. We understand it very well. We still don't understand what it means, but we can use it very well.
Okay.
Yeah.
A challenge, right, Taufiq? Explain what is quantum physics
Yeah.
to a sixth grader.
A sixth grader. Okay.
How would you explain it?
Yeah, this is hard.
6 SD, yeah.
Right. I mean, I would start with just look at things around you.
Okay.
And you see that this table is like a hard solid, we call it solid, and there's another things called liquid. But like apparently these different types of materials are made of atoms. They're made of the same stuff. And these are like, you can imagine it as little balls moving around. And I would say that once you get into that small regime, the physics that you typically understand in terms of if I push this, it will behave in a certain way, that starts breaking down. It starts not applying anymore. And we need a new rule. And that rule is called quantum mechanics. I mean, that's what I would... For sixth grader.
So what... Okay, now this is for me.
Okay.
So what does this have to be with quantum computing? Because I never got the jump. They say the processing power is that much exponentially higher than the best computers we have now if we crack quantum computing. Because it doesn't behave like normal physics. Is that?
And you were in the quantum computing
Well, I mean...
realm, right? From what I understand.
Not directly, but slightly related. Like there's some overlap.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me tell you my understanding so you can correct my understanding.
Okay.
Normal computing is bits, right? 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. The more processing power we have, the more we can process billions and trillions of whatever this is. Is quantum computing just basically saying we can process that way exponentially faster? Or is it completely something different?
It's actually a completely something. It's entirely different ways of doing computations.
Oh wow! Okay.
Because typically the way you do computation is, as you said, through bits, like it's based on zeros and ones. But quantum has this weird behavior that it's not like if you're given two possibilities that seems to be conflicting. Like let's say this ball is turning clockwise or anti-clockwise. Like if this is a quantum properties, it can be rotating both clockwise and anti-clockwise at the same time. This is actually there's a proper mathematics for it, but this is the best like language.
Yeah, got it.
But so in the same way, if you think of computer in terms of series of zeros and ones,
So it can be both zeros
and ones
at the same time.
Yeah.
And all of it can be both zeros and ones at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, in principle, but the nuance is that quantum system, as we know today, is very fragile. So the moment it interacts even slightly with the surrounding, it breaks. Like you no longer see the quantum properties. So this is one of the big challenge. But supposedly, if you can make like a lot of quantum systems and they can have these properties of being zeros and one at the same time, in principle, yes, you can process information much faster.
Okay. And is it true? Because at some point we're gonna talk about AI. Is it true that what's the relationship between quantum and AI? That's the first basic question first, right? What's the relationship?
You're asking a very hard question because my colleagues will kind of like,
They will watch and they will judge your explanation. They will peer review this explanation.
The general understanding. I'm not saying
Loosely.
This is not a fact. It's just conversation.
Please, Taufiq's peers, comment below your peer review.
Yes, peer review.
Peer review.
So, I mean, one thing I would say is that quantum intersection between quantum and AI and machine learning is a research endeavor. Like it's a valid, like people are investigating into how do you combine them to make a more powerful technology, let's say. But a lot of how it can do so, or why, or whether it can do so, they are still very much a big questions, I would say.
Okay.
At least my understanding on the subject.
Yeah.
I mean, you ask a different researcher in different fields, maybe they have different opinions.
Yeah.
But I would say right now, the biggest challenge for making quantum computer is scalability. I mean, a lot of companies are trying to solve this problem. Like we know well how to make like one quantum bit, like this zeros and one at the same time. We know like maybe up to 5, we know quite well at this point. But scaling it up to something like 1,000, a million, that's still a very hard problem. Now, AI is a technology that relies very heavily on scalability. Like, in fact, like artificial intelligence is not new. It was like the first mathematical idea of it is something like 1960s, if I'm not wrong. And then, but it died because there's not enough hardware capability to actually execute it. And once we do so, which by the way, interestingly, I heard it came from game industry. And then after they have the hardware capability that they can scale things up, and we have a powerful AI as now. So that's I think if you really want to connect the two, you have to bridge the scalability problem. How do you make quantum system bigger and bigger while still controlling it?
And that's a problem that's still...
It's still under research.
Under research. Interesting. Wow. Okay. So that, right? All of that, your research, your PhD, your field in science, and then you're also actively you've wrote a lot of piece in WIUI, right? About social politics, about science sometimes. And I know like last time we dissected the 3 presidential candidates dissertation skripsi. Ada buku juga, Prabowo buku, Ganjar skripsi, Anies dissertasi, PhD paper. That was like spearheaded by you and your team of our journal club, and then you wrote a couple of pieces in WIUI as well about various subjects. How does the thing that you learn in PhD, like the scientific thinking, help you to understand, dissect, and write about social issues? There are more, nuance and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, one thing to say would be that I sometimes very afraid of having this, let's say, illusion that because I know physics, I know the other fields, because it's something dangerous that I wouldn't claim so. But I would say there are some transferable skill in the sense of, let's say, understanding logical arguments, right? Like trying to decompose complicated arguments into like digestible pieces. And this thing that the presidential candidate was motivated by my, let's say, my, how to say, like keresahan, and on the fact that I feel like in Indonesia, like candidates on like serious substantive discussion about this, like the fate of this country, right? It's usually happening only on debates.
Right.
And on debates, there's a lot of factors, like not only about the substance, your thinking, but also how you kind of like
your
charm,
to it,
exactly, your showmanship,
all this stuff.
And I wanted to change that, at least like contribute in some ways toward making more, let's say, intentional, long form type of discussions on presidential election. So that was the motivation, and I learned a lot. And not gonna say who, but I feel like basically like you start seeing this parallel, like looking at their writings even 10 years back. It's you kind of make sense of their behavior now. It's quite astonishing, like
the pattern,
the continuity. It's like you see it, and I think I hope that this culture is gonna continue. Because I feel like debate is such a, well, there's probably a good side to it, but I think we need to find ways to let's say, cover the weaknesses of debate. And I think in Indonesia there's a lack of, let's say, how do you say, like, so that when you talk about, like, when people deciding about who to vote, it should be based on like policy and substantive argument rather than kind of like gimmicks and all these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So which one was the best? That was like, I was waiting back.
No. I mean,
objectively from the papers. Is it an objective?
No, I'm not. But I would say that it was quite funny because we got people saying that, oh, we are pro this, we are pro that, like for all three candidates, people were saying that. So to me, that's an indication that we were doing a pretty good job capturing the three of them, you know.
And to be fair, it's not really comparable because one was like a PhD dissertation, one was a book, and then one was a skripsi, right? I forgot.
Very good book. Very. Get out. Be safe.
I do want to talk about this. So a couple of years back, I don't know, is it years or months? I got into like a massive like internet thing with jockey, right, in Indo.
Yes.
Like because I was like baffled, mind-boggled. Not at the fact that people use jockey for skripsi, for homework, for school, and for university stuff, but the fact that those people who use jockey or who are jockey don't think it's wrong. You know, so they're like, it's just another service. What is wrong with that? And I even learned that some of the jockey was being paid by the student's parent and was being recommended by the professor.
What?
And in some cases, the professor is the jockey. And so if you want to graduate or have a good grade, you know how like messed up that is, the things that I learned. I think like from my, and I got into like a massive fight with like people, the pro jockey, the ones who are like...
pro Jokowi. Pro jockey.
Pro jockey, yeah.
Sorry, I miss her.
And I was like, it just baffled me. The fact, I think it really cemented the fact that, you know, a lot of people went to school or tried to, and there are jockey for PhD too, by the way. Went to school, do master's, PhD, whatever. It's not for the love of knowledge. It's not for the research itself, but for the title, right? They just like, I just want the title because after I got the title, I get to brag this and that. So that's why the jockey business is flourishing up until there are multiple PT, right? That does this. What do you think of that, Taufiq?
Well, I mean, we were I was also a witness of the whole ordeal.
And Abigail jockey saga. It's a saga.
I know, no.
Saga.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, definitely. This is not something I see outside. You know, like if you cheat, you cheat. Like there's no this kind of like weird jockey stuff.
And a lot of people, like their defense was like, oh, you think abroad is much better? You know, like they're jockey abroad as well. Well, yeah, I know. But if you get caught, you lose all credential and you don't have PT for jockey and it's not being promoted by your professor.
And my favorite counter argument. Kan rezeki orang.
Benar.
That's my favorite. Shut the fuck up. Korupsi juga rezeki orang. It's like, why is it always like that?
Terus mereka bilang gini, Kak bedanya apa sama konsultan pajak?
Aduh.
Kak bedanya. Terus ada yang bilang, no, there's somebody said, yang bikin rel kereta api, tukang-tukang itu adalah jokinya Jokowi.
Hah?
Sumpah. Terus dia beneran nanya, they really asked me like, what's the difference? Kayak, gue kan jual jasa doang gitu.
Oh my God. Please. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway, yeah. So
there should be something called quantum dumbness. This is quantum dumbness. The rules of dumbness doesn't apply to them. There's another rules of dumbity. Right?
Seriously, because like what they're doing is fraud, right?
If
somebody hire you to do jockey. Oh, I wonder what this is for. Untuk nipu lah udah pasti gitu kan, gak mungkin. Oh, saya minta kamu bikinin tugas ini untuk saya pajang aja di kamar gitu. Nobody does that. And ya mereka tuh kayak, ya saya kan cuma jual jasa. Bedanya apa sama wedding organizer, sama konsultan pajak, sama itu. Kayak gitu. So that's what baffles me. It's a whole jockey complex. And I don't see gini, maksudnya gini. If you want to do jockey, fine, whatever gitu. But do it in secret. Have shame.
And I remember where you post. I mean, from your story, people are so proud on their Instagram bio and profiles. The jockey, the PT jockey. They don't hide it. They don't hide it.
They have brand ambassadors.
Brand ambassadors for jockeyness. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And makanya kayak this only like, what do you think of that, Taufiq? Yeah, sorry.
No. I mean, definitely I'm against it, right? But I just find it, very baffling and fascinating how this came to be, because there's also the phenomenon of ghostwriter. I think this partly maybe stems from our love of just the products, the polished products, rather than doing the results, rather than just like actually doing the process.
Yeah.
And I think you can see this reflected in many other things like policies and other things, right? And so that's one that I can think of on the top of my head. Another is the lack of writing training in schools, right? Because when, I think even in a lot of the Western countries, for example, writing is such a big part of educations. Right. But here, usually only like when you need to write scriptsy, and then a lot of people don't know how to start, how to do that,
right?
And so they outsource their thinking and their writing to jockey, right?
Yeah. Damn, I remember this whole saga.
And I think still hiring jockey in the age of AI is insane.
Yeah, in the age of AI, I mean, I also disagree with that, but like, it's crazy. There's a new term, quantum stupidity. The rules of normal classical Newtonian stupidity doesn't apply to quantum stupidity.
I agree.
The jokinya tukang rel to joki Jokowi is the dumbest argument I've ever heard in my life.
Dia gini, dia bener-bener ngomong sambil marah-marah ke gue kayak, lah itu tukang rel kereta api jokinya Jokowi gitu. Lu mau balas apa? No, okay. I do wanna ask you both though, right? Another aspect of that is they have no idea that it's wrong. They think it's just another service. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. The world is baffled here. Us three, we're all like, what the fuck is going on?
Because I understand that they know it's wrong, but they still want to do it because result, because status, because self-interest. I get it. But they have no idea it's wrong. Like it's just another service. It's just like a tax consultant. It's just like a wedding organizer.
So I think that there's also a lack of discussion in schools in terms of morality, in terms of like what's right and what's wrong, right? Generally, it's a top-down thing. It's like, oh, this is right, this is wrong. Right. But you are not being taught to discuss about what's right and what's wrong.
To construct your
own thinking. And once it becomes normalized, for example, if you grow up with this being the normal thing, then because you're not used to thinking of why this is right, this is wrong, you're like, oh, but I see this every day, like.
My professor is the one who recommended this to me, or my parents are the one who recommended it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So I think it's a combination of those two things. The fact that it has become so normalized because it was there for a long time. And then two, that we are not used to thinking, like constructing our own morality in that sense.
Makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense. Because for a lot of Indonesians that I see, right, what they deem as right and wrong is not based on the consequence. It's not based on like whether what I'm doing is damaging or costing other people, or damaging the consequence, or what I'm doing is benefiting or is being helpful to other people, but it's because of top down what is being taught to me as right and wrong. And therefore, I do find a lot of people feeling extremely guilty about something that doesn't harm anyone, and then feeling completely fine doing something that harms a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
For example, corruption. Like a lot of people,
right.
they do despicable things that damages and cost a lot of people, but they don't feel guilty.
This always intrigues me. Like, I want to take you as an example, right? You are in the top echelon you are the minority. Not a lot of people study PhD, take PhDs, not many people take quantum physics.
Yeah.
Right. When you went to South Korea for your S1, S2, and then now you're in Singapore, like, do you see this behavior with other, of course you're not talking to the normal population crowd, right? When you go to South Korea, you're meeting your peers, right? But do you see this culture in those countries? In South Korea,
what cultures?
This whole, like, what Abigail was saying, like
the result oriented.
Because even South Korea, if you think about it, they're also very result oriented. They have their national Gaokao.
Yeah,
Gaokao is China, right? I mean,
Sunam.
It's Sunam, right? They have the thing, right? Technically, if they're also result oriented, they would do the same thing, right? But somehow somehow it's not translating to their culture. I mean, I'm sure there are some South Koreans. I'm sure.
That's true. But how it translated, like in South Korea, it became like a very high pressure cooker type of education system, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is a social question, not a science. Like, do you see it when you're in South Korea or in Singapore? Like, why is the same thing, that result-based thing, not applying to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is a very interesting question. Let's say the last experience I had with like people or seeing other people cheat was in high school here. So like right after, maybe partly also because I went to like KAIS, which is like one of the top unis in Korea and also in Singapore, in NTU. So people don't cheat, right? And like some like, for example, in NTU, it was very harsh, like in terms of like supervision and all that, like so that people don't cheat. But it was quite interesting that, right after high school, I never encountered anybody cheats whatsoever. So I don't know how or why.
Okay. Do you think it's more systemic, meaning because the punishment is so severe and the surveillance and the monitoring is good? Or do you think it's more culture based, meaning that, people they feel ashamed if they cheat?
Yeah, I would say it's a combination of things. It's probably the consequence, but also at the same time, they were used to not cheating since they were young, right? Cheating becomes a weird thing after a while. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, I think it's so normalized. Even the teachers sometimes, like, I heard of cases of teachers distributing like answer keys and things like this, right?
And they also have incentives, because if they don't, the school gets downgraded to level B or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? So there's an incentive system. If I fail you, then my school is not accreditasi A, it becomes B. So it's fucked. It's fucked.
No, yeah, I understand. But even like, I feel like that incentive system, like, it's even if, for example, we move that incentive system to Korea, for example, or to other countries. I feel like what it will make for most, of course not all, is make the school work harder. That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
But instead, like in here, it incentivizes cheating.
Someone should do a dissertation on Indonesian people and why we're different. Again, not all Indonesians. Like, I'm sure there are bad South Koreans as well. I'm sure.
Yeah, obviously.
But in general, it's like, I get you. It's like there's something.
Yeah, but the difference is the normalization, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy question. By the way, we have a journal club going on, right?
Yeah.
And the first session.
It's closed.
Yeah, it's closed. Unfortunately, next year. But the first session was about exactly these questions, because. So the topic is about corruptions, right? And the one thing that we discussed was how exactly, for example, like our neighbors, like Singapore, they have such a strong institutions against corruptions and cheatings, and even like other countries like Malaysia or Thailand, there was this like a politician came here, right, and says that money politics was not a thing in Thailand.
No, he said it was a thing, but not him, not his party.
Okay, sorry. So I don't think I have an answer to that. It's a complicated question, but maybe if there's a guest or someone, maybe we can talk more about it. Yeah,
that is true. I just think also, I don't know. I feel like, in a weird way, this can be completely wrong, but from my observation, sometimes it's also like the communal aspect of Indonesia, like how we love to help our neighbors out. We love to be friendly with one another. We love to live in a community. And so, like, when cheating, it's like helping your friend out, right?
Right.
It's they don't really see it as a crime.
I'm helping him out. I'm helping her
kesian
out.
gitu kan. Kesian nih, kita solid dong.
Solid!
Yeah, we probably need more respect toward meritocracy, right? Toward processes. I mean, even in politics right now, like a lot of people were being placed not because of merits, right?
Not but because of loyalty. And again, I feel like that's also that camaraderie aspect that can be very good in friendship circle, but when you put it into like a formal institution, it can be very so damaging.
It's so
like
bad.
Nggak enak, right? A lot of people let their friends cheat because nggak enak.
Yeah, bener. Aduh, gue nggak enak nih. Bener.
So it's actually motivated by kindness sometimes.
Which is really weird.
Twisted.
It's twisted.
So yeah, it's like our greatest gift. In a different context can be the most damaging thing.
Yeah.
At least that's my hypothesis.
Yeah, you're right. Our kindness, a sick sense of, it's very...
The generosity Indonesia has always, so we're generous with our answers as well, giving materi apa segala.
Did you ever feel at any point, because you went from Bandung to South Korea. I mean, I know, of course you're smart. I mean, but like, did you ever feel like, yo, damn, these South Koreans are, holy shit, they're so smart. Like, and when did you get over it? Because I'm sure you got over it.
That's a good question.
Like, no, I'm as good as you guys. Like, fuck you guys. Not fuck you guys. But I'm sure you felt that. So how was that? How did you get over the hump?
That's a very, very, very interesting question that brings back a lot of memories, right?
Right.
Because definitely, in high school, I used to be that smart kid, and then I get kicked out to Korea, and then I become not so smart anymore. Right. And the kind of mental adjustment that's needed for navigating those periods was not that easy. And I would say that at some point, because Koreans really take their studies very, very seriously. And some people just don't sleep. And at some point, I also had that period. So at some point, there's a switch in my brain that says that, you know what, competing to be the best is not my goal. So, from high school, this is what drove me toward joining competitions, Olympiad, and so on and so forth. I want to be the best, Right. But at some point, I was like, this is so exhausting. This is so tiring. And I feel like this is not going to end.
Okay.
So at some point during my undergraduate years, I wanted to just okay, this is what I can do. How can I contribute? How can I make some kind of work that I'm proud of? And that takes the focus out of the competitions. Not 100%, of course. I still have this competition drive, but it really, I felt relief when I had that switch in my brain. And I think after that, I had a lot more, let's say, loose or relaxed attitude to these things. And I feel like I just study what I'm interested in and not worry so much about whether this person is better than me or that person is better than me, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Because I'm in a very weird sense where, because I was the other way around. I grew up not here. Because dari TK I was with other people. So people always say, Andovi sombong, I have this sense of confidence. I agree. I completely agree. Go sombong in a very weird way. But it's just, I never felt below you. So I never felt, and maybe I'm very privileged because I grew up abroad. So I grew up with white people, Asians, black people, everybody. So because from such a young age, I never saw I'm below you. And I'm curious from people who were here all their lives, went abroad, what was the process, right?
Yeah, because a lot of Indonesians, they would say that they have a lot of inferiority.
Look what happened with the Bali Entourage Club thing. No, let's talk about it. Because I know we're going to clip it. There's so much debate online. I'm not going to talk about whether it's right, whether it's wrong, whatever. I don't care.
Wrong.
It's wrong. No, I'm talking about there's this narrative online. Orang Indonesia kenapa join?
Really?
Why? There's this narrative. So Entourage is saying, we have a lot of locals joining. And some of the locals spoke up. So now in threads, some of the locals spoke up saying, I'm one of the few locals. And they're getting bashed. Kenapa lu lokal lu join? Is it because your inferiority complex? Kenapa lu mau join Ramkat Bule?
Biar diterima.
And some of them jujur. Some of them kayak, yeah. Some of them kayak,
because from what I understand, that is for digital nomads, right? So a lot of locals are technically digital nomads. They're from Jakarta to Bali and things like that. Yeah.
And there's this whole argument where lu jangan merasa inferior dong, ya bikin aja run club sendiri. And first of all, I thought about you can't discriminate based on nationality. That's the number one argument. You cannot discriminate based on nationality and ras and suku and adat, whatever. But I do feel like there's this deep-seated inferiority complex that needs to be ridden in our country. And I don't know how we do it. I really don't know how do we do it.
We wrote a piece about that on the science and decolonization thing. So we had I wrote an article on Substack, WIUI Substacks on that.
We also posted it
on Instagram as well. So so one thing would be that, so I actually didn't like history growing up, in high school, middle school and primary school, because it's just a bunch of names and dates at that point. But interestingly, when I went abroad to South Korea, I started rediscovering Indonesia, right? I started to read more about it. I'm joining WIUI and all. So one aspect of that article was me rediscovering that there are so many cool Indonesian figures back then that's somehow it's simply just not like, I don't know, maybe it's the mystique of the curriculum, maybe it's just how history is being taught is not emphasizing the right way and things like this. But, Hatta was pretty cool. Like in 1920 something, he already went a tour in Europe, giving academic talks in Swedes and in other things. Like, he was a super cool guy. And then we also talk about Ahmad Mokhtar, who's like a very, like he got his PhD in 1920s.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
And back in the day, Indonesians is very hard. Very hard for Indonesians to get anything.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, he didn't live to see Indonesian independence.
Yeah.
But still, like, there's so many very cool and very inspiring Indonesian figures. I would say that if we revisit those, probably it can get rid of a little bit of our sense of inferiority.
Yeah. That's a great point.
I think we did talk about this with Peter
Carey. Yeah, we did. Yeah, with Peter.
One of the potential reason why we have such inferiority complex is because we are so detached from our history.
Yeah.
We have no idea like who we are as a nation, as people. We don't have, like Bagus Mulyadi mentioned, we don't have an overarching narrative about us. Yeah. So we're very detached from our history because, again, maybe history has been taught very superficially, that we don't really learn like the main themes and values that connected us to our ancestors, right?
Right. You're right. Yeah, and in that Peter Carey episode, we learned a lot that there were so many Indonesian scientists.
Yeah, it's one of them is
Mokhtar.
Mokhtar.
Yeah, of course. And then he also told us about how if we learn about Diponegoro properly, we could have had a figure who was like, yo, this guy was amazing.
Was very, very anti-corruption and
But then someone's kake was apparently, if you know, someone's kake was the Londo Irang who took, who took Diponegoro. But let's not talk about that.
You can watch it.
What he said, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Kita nggak sabas siapa yang sebenarnya Londo Irang sesungguhnya kita nggak sabas. Okay, ini mulai sejarah. So anyway, okay, Taufiq, I want to ask a non-science question.
Yeah.
I want to talk about WIUI.
Yeah.
Okay, because you're from an outsider's perspective. You're a volunteer, but I want to talk to you from an outsider's perspective as also a consumer.
Okay.
What do you not like about What Is Up Indonesia? And what do you love about What Is Up Indonesia? And no, Abigail will not judge you for what you say. I will. It's fine.
Wow.
Because this is very interesting. Because I want to know, like, as a volunteer, right? And you contributed so much already. Okay, let's make it more political. What could we improve better? That is the political question.
The politically
diplomatically
correct.
Yeah. What can we improve better, and what is this like? What is WIUI doing so well?
I mean, it's not easy because WIUI is a very, at least like for the big part of where, let's say since 2021, 3 years, WIUI is a very dispersed all over regions in the world. And then we have our own thing going on. So it was actually very difficult to coordinate and then do stuff consistently. I mean, one thing I wish would be, of course, it's not easy. And, I'm not, because I'm also not contributing consistently these days, but like long form contents, like long form writing, I think this is super important given the tide of social media is towards short form, and I think it's important for us to go against that current in one way or another, because there's so much things we lose by just consuming short content and just like kind of the nuance and everything, and there's like not for even like good appropriate translation of nuance would be even difficult.
Know.
Yeah.
What's the Indonesian word for nuance?
I have no idea.
There's
nuance.
none.
See, like a vocabularies.
Nuance.
There is exactly. Yeah. Absolutely.
And with AI, so it seems that everybody is pushing towards this, but I don't know. Like for me, in order for us to be, for example, hopeful and optimistic, I just have a gut feeling that this long form content is still going to be important, and I think it would be nice for WIUI to do it more consistently. I mean, I hope I can contribute more on that also in the future. Also, but maybe it's not because of she's here, but definitely like I almost quit WIUI at some point. But the thing is that this direction of going toward hope and optimism is something that I don't really find in many places, but WIUI. Let's say this focus and this direction, this orientation toward nurturing this kind of hope and optimism, at least for me, like when I look around, right? So that's one thing, because the earlier part of your question is what I like, right? That's what I like about WIUI. Yeah.
I have an opinion on this. As someone who's also clearly what's great is the podcast host is amazing. I mean, clearly that's one thing we should never change. It's amazing podcast host. But apart from that, I don't know. It's a different thing. But you know how for my mom's generation, it was my mom still reads Tempo religiously, like the weekly magazines. The bi-weekly, monthly, whatever you call them, the short magazines. If we can make a sort of version on that, like a bi-weekly or monthly
magazine.
Yeah, like the back in the day was a Tempo for my mom's generation.
Right.
It was a Tempo magazine. I know these days no one reads magazines, but that the feel of when you go to the airport and you see the Tempo magazine, like edisi ke-70 bulan November 1 ke-70. That but WIUI and that but digital. Like November edition, November edition, WIUI, and then just, and you can talk about like anything, like the journal club, what we did, the podcast guests that we had.
Oh,
so it can
I
be
see.
like
So it's like a news about WIUI.
Yeah. Sort of, yeah. So people who follow on and off.
Right.
Who's like, what did WIUI do in November? What did WIUI do in November, December? And they go and say, oh shit, you had Zazie, you had Taufiq, and then you had a book club, you had an event there, and
actually that's what Substack's supposed to be,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So another thing I wanted to say was that ever since the beginning I joined WIUI, it's not always on the top of priority for us to have a large audience. I mean, we started pretty small, but of course, like the Pemilu and everything, it's great. I mean, I love Weeboos, right? But I'm just saying that to me as a writer, what moved, like what motivated me was not how many people I reach, but out of the people I reach, how many people did I move? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the quality of the response, right?
Exactly.
And one of the things that I really like about WIUI is our comment section. I think it's compared to like other media that talks about similar subject, it's still very much still on topic, substantive. Sometimes I'm always super mind blown reading the comments, so well thought of.
And the Weeboos always flirt with the line of substantive and unhinged.
That's true.
It's like so unhinged. And then
There's only two ways.
There's no like, hey. It's like, and then, It's like,
I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah.
That's true. Okay. Taufiq.
Yes.
So you read a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
What book are you currently reading?
Both fiction or fact, anything, non-fiction, anything.
So, I mean, I just finished it recently. There's this book called Traversal by Maria Popova. So, Traversal is a pretty heavy book, but I would recommend going through Maria Popova's work.
So is it non-fiction or is it fiction?
Non-fiction.
Non-fiction.
Okay. So like this orientation toward hopes, and like, for example, this is one thing that we probably didn't discuss in this podcast was I'm also very much interested in art, especially poetry. So Maria Popova's work really combines science and poetry really well.
Science and poetry.
And I actually think that science and poetry has a lot like common motivation. We just have slightly different languages. And the people like Maria Popova is one of the writers that can masterfully craft a kind of combination between Maria Popova.
Is she Russian? I'm assuming, or Eastern
I
European?
don't remember, but she lives in the US. But I think she emigrated from somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, Bulgaria, I think. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, so I recommend looking into her books, and she also has like a website called Marginalian. So these are very like, at least it resonated very deeply with me. Yeah.
Right. So this reminds me, like, I know you're a very contemplative person, I would say.
Okay.
You like to contemplate about the big questions of life. So I want to ask you, Taufiq, what do you think is the meaning of life now?
Dang.
Wow, what a question.
Yeah, I mean,
I know you've been pondering about that, right?
yeah. I mean, so when I hear that questions, I usually my mind go back to the quote by in the Dead Poet Society movie.
Robin Williams.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. He
Rest
was
in
saying
peace.
that the powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. And he repeated twice. The powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. What would your verse be, right? So to me, that's such a powerful line, because the way I see it is that I don't have that, and I think that misses the point. Like, life is not something that you can reduce to a statement. The meaning of life is this, right? There is a huge play goes on, like whatever this is. It's not just about human, right? You see like animals and they're doing their own thing. There's something going on, and we're kind of part of it. And the point is to kind of think about what kind of contribution we want to make to this powerful play that is the world. That's my answer to that.
Wow.
Such a good answer. It's
answer.
different than the last time you answered.
What was my answer?
The last time you answered was like the point of life is in sort of like the journey
Yeah.
and the dance that you do along the way.
Yes,
type
I think
of stuff.
it's just a rephrasing, because
I guess, but this one emphasized more on like your contribution towards it, right?
Yeah. I
But yeah,
see.
perhaps it's a stage of life thing, right?
Yeah. Damn.
What about you, Dov?
Meaning of life. Listen, that's a hard question. I just want to enjoy my life and just, I just want to enjoy my life. I mean, that's a very simplistic way to put it, but
Yeah.
I don't want to wake up and not do what I don't want to do. Like I want to wake up and do what I want to do. Basically,
And that's partly why I also I want to contribute more to WIUI and to the social space, because I think that that's such an important state of mind to be in, that you wake up and you do what you want to do.
what you want to do. Yeah.
But not everyone can afford that.
Exactly.
So I want to help more people to be able to be in that state of mind, whatever they end up doing.
Yeah. And I mean, like, in WIUI, we also don't just talk about social politics per se, right? We talk about many different things. We talk about many different other topics. And yeah, very excited to see more of your writing, Taufiq.
Thank you.
Who is the guest that you want to see on here? Like personally, Taufiq.
That is possible.
That is possible. Like, don't be like
Neil deGrasse
Neil
Tyson.
deGrasse Tyson. We can't invite him.
Yeah, I would love to have him here, but
Let's see. I mean, so I would say...
or maybe not who, but more of, like, journalists, more of, or if you have a specific person in mind, it's fine.
I don't have a specific person in mind, but I mean, I would love to see people who work in the intersections more. Like, for example, intersection between things. Like, for example, I mean, I was telling you about...
Gue kira di jalanan. Lu mau gue invite orang-orang di jalanan. Okay.
Yeah.
Boleh. Gue bisa.
Right. So I mentioned about the signs and poetries and people who try to navigate space between things.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have specific persons in mind, but I feel like these kind of people would be very interesting to
That's
talk
true.
to.
That's
and explore.
interesting.
Yeah.
I have no idea. But yeah, we can definitely think about
My
that.
dream guest is Megawati.
Just to put it out there.
Put it out there.
Ibu Mega.
Solid. Ibu Mega kami.
One itu.
The
Why?
part one's fine. I just feel like you have someone who like, not only does she know Indonesian history, but she knows her dad's history.
Yeah.
Like, you could pick her brains like so much. Like, yo, what did your dad say back in the day? Like, I just want to know. What did he say? Like, how did he party back in the day? I want to know.
It's
man.
true.
Like,
It's
she
true.
has so much.
Loki, yeah.
Look,
But that intersection, yeah, siapa ya? We need to think about that. If you guys think of anyone, please comment below. We'll try to get that person here. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it from me.
Yeah.
To close, I want to ask, Taufiq, what is the worst advice you have ever gotten in your life?
Oh.
After this, I have one more question. I lied. That's not the closing.
Worst advice. I don't think it's a particularly advice per se, but at some point, so in my third year of middle school, I was studying for like high school material for preparing physics Olympiad in high school, because I lost in middle school and I was so disappointed, and I just wanted to prepare for the high school ones, and I asked teacher, and the teacher actually kind of like replied in a derision or something like, you why are you doing this in the first place? Like, this is not your place, kind of thing. So that's I think that as a teacher, it's very important to be watchful of your words, because it can leave like a very strong impact in young students, right? So I think that really hurted me a lot. But then in the end, I didn't listen to this and continue just looking into the materials. I think that's partly because, third year of high school, like, you should think about like getting into the top high school rather than preparing. You are too far ahead and things like this. And so anyway, I am glad I did not listen to this person and continue doing my own thing. And I think it actually, like in my first year of high school, I already went to national level because I prepared. And like a lot of people seem to have this idea that I was just smart and whatever, but it actually took like a huge effort to get there. And even like I prepared years before entering the competition in order to be able to get to that.
Yeah, screw you, Pak Budi. I'm assuming. I'm assuming that's his name. Most
That's true.
Most teachers, Pak Cahyono.
Watch us like a Pak Cahyono. Watch us like.
Kok gua nggak ngomong apa-apa gitu.
But that's so cool though. It really circles back to like the first part that you mentioned about being selective of feedback that you internalize.
You're right.
Not to take everything at face value.
Yeah.
All right. Last question, Taufiq. Mandatory reading for everyone that is watching.
Mandatory reading.
Taufiq's mandatory reading.
Revolusi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Revolusi, David.
I finished reading that, by the way.
Yes.
That's true.
That's
You
really
wrote a post on WIUI about Revolusi, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
David
excellent.
how do you say his name?
Ray Brook.
Ray Brook.
Yeah.
Yeah, Belgian. He's a Belgian.
Yeah.
Belgian. Yeah, I love that book.
Yeah, it gives such a personal touch to history that I just discovered by reading that book. Yeah.
I can 1000% agree. Great
Have you
book.
read it?
I've read it full.
What do you think?
Love it, especially the ship analogy. I really love it. The ship analogy in that book. It's like really love it.
I discovered, like, I knew of Sultan Shahrir, but I didn't know, like, in the book. The Sultan Shahrir figure was like, man, I resonated with this guy. How come I didn't hear about this guy sooner?
I remember I read it on the airplane, and they were on the airplane with me, and I was like showing off. That to go lagi baca apa revolusi. I'm gonna bring it on the pen. People were like, jangan bawa buku judulnya revolusi kan kayak ke airplane kayak I'm just reading. Great book.
And it's close to 17 plus 8, right?
Yeah, so it was close to that. It was close to that era, and I was
see.
bringing a book revolusi, and people just looking at me like,
Damn, Andovi. Damn, Andovi.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much,
Terima kasih,
Taufiq, for
Thank
coming
you.
over.
Terima kasih.
See you on our next podcast. Bye-bye.